Oh. Is it possible that another board member saw them and took them?
It's possible. I actually have one with me.
Okay.
If you don't mind me teaching. Shabbat Shalom. Good evening, everybody. I'm just not talking loud enough. Shabbat Shalom. Good evening. My name is Larry Jasper, and on behalf of the Board of Directors here at Congregation BethChaim, I'd like to offer you a very hearty and heartfelt Shabbat Shalom and welcome to this evening's services. If you would, please note the instructions on the blue screen behind me. It's blue, okay. That will enhance your enjoyment and safety during the services this evening. Thank you.
page 330.
Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Kol hanshama te'aleliyah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Kol hanshama te'aleliyah. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Kol hanshama te'aleliyah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Kol hanshama te'aleliyah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Every now and then I like to mix it up. So tonight I want to begin with a Devar Torah in the form of a story. It's a story of a man named Asher who lived in a village, a Jewish village, about a generation or two ago. And Reb Asher was known as the wealthiest member of the community. It wasn't always that way, because Reb Asher had actually been very poor for most of his life, but one day he had come across a bag that was filled with leather strips and strings and these buttons, and it turned out that those buttons were pure gold buttons, and he became more wealthy than people could imagine. Wealthy, but stingy. The wealthiest and the stingiest of all. And so, when it came time as the High Holy Days began to come upon the village, and there was a need for people to help out those who were in need, who couldn't put wine and challah and food on the table, the rabbi knew it would be his responsibility to go to Reb Asher and to somehow get his contribution for those who need. And so he waited until the coldest day of the year. You know, those days when you absolutely don't want to go outside, where it hurts just to breathe. And that's the day the rabbi decided he was going to see Asher. And he made his way up to the mansion, and he went to the front door, and he had one of those big, heavy wrought iron knockers, and he began to knock on the door. And when Asher heard the sound, at first he thought it was the wind or something that had knocked something over, but when he realized that there was someone at his door, he wrapped himself in a blanket and he went and he opened, and lo and behold, there stood the village rabbi. And he said, "Rabbi, what are you doing here?" And as if he didn't hear anything, the rabbi began, "Asher, I hope things are well for you, and that I've come to talk to you about the holidays that are rapidly approaching." And Asher cut him off and said, "Rabbi, what are you doing here? It's freezing." Pretended not to hear a thing. As we continue to prepare for the holidays, you can imagine that it's important that he cut him off again. "Rabbi, it's freezing out here. Just come inside, please. We'll close the door. We'll go to the fire. We'll have some brandy." And the rabbi, again, as if he heard nothing. "Well, Asher, you know that we're trying to help those in need, and I'm sure you can remember the time." "Rabbi," getting angrier, you know, when the red begins to fill the cheek. "Rabbi, come in. It is freezing. And he went to grab the rabbi by the coat, and the rabbi took 2 steps back, and Asher tripped forward, and colder, and he got more angry. And it's that time of year when we're supposed to take care of each other, and Asher got so upset, he started to, at the top, "Rabbi, I've had enough, come in." And the rabbi said softly, "Asher, why are you so upset?" "Rabbi, it's freezing out here. I can't stand it." The ice had started to form on his long beard. "It's time, Rabbi." "Asher, how long have you been standing out here?" "Long enough." "But Asher, you've only been here 2 minutes at the door. Don't you remember? Don't you remember those days when you were so hungry that you needed to ask others for food for you and your family? In fact, you may remember you used to come to me, and I would have to go to others to help you prepare for the holiday for your family." And as the rabbi was speaking, maybe it was that cold or something that triggered a memory, but Asher began not only to remember, but to feel those days when he was the one in need. And as he did, he stopped and he said, "Rabbi, now I remember. Please come in. Tell me how I can be of help." You know, the theme of memory is upon us this Shabbat in a number of ways. Many of you got the email that we sent about 9/11, the act of remembering what happened, not only an event, but to individuals, not only victims, but survivors. And just remembering in and of itself gives honor, but it's not enough. The question is, what do we do with that memory? And only when we commit ourselves to work towards true security and peace, locally and the best we can, only then does that memory really give honor to what happened on that day. And we remember our loved ones not only on Shabbat and yahrzeits. And yes, the act of honoring them with the memory is important, but only when we are inspired by their values and their ideals and somehow bring those to life. Do their lives continue to have meaning long after their days on earth? This week's Torah portion, Kitei says, "You should always remember that you were slaves in Egypt." What kind of a people bases what we do on only remembering what happened to us? The tragedy of Egypt, so we could sit at a Passover Seder together. It's that memory of where our people comes from that reminds us and calls us to make sure that the needs and the rights of the disenfranchised, of the weak, are protected, however we do that. So here we are on Shabbat again, an opportunity during this month of Elul, this month before the holidays, when we're supposed to remember. That's what we're supposed to be doing this month, to prepare ourselves for the holidays by remembering, by reflecting on this past year, not just to know I can say I'm sorry, but to commit ourselves to be on the better path in the year to come. So that's what I invite us to do during this worship. I hope we'll sing and we'll pray and we'll be together, but maybe take the opportunity through the prayers to remember and reflect, to be inspired, and to commit ourselves to maybe do one thing this Shabbat, one extra thing to make the world around us a better place. Shabbat Shalom. Friends, it's my great honor as we prepare for Shabbat to invite you to turn to pages 2 and 3 and to invite John Withers to the Bima for the honor of lighting Shabbat candles.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we, in our own day, be among those who kindle light.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu להדליק נר של שבת.
Please join us on page 5. We rise together.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם בורא פרי הגפן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר קידשנו במצוותיו ורצה בנו בשבת קודשו באהבה וברצון הנחילנו זיכרון למעשה בראשית כי הוא יום תחילה למקראי קודש זכר ליציאת מצרים כי בנו בחרת ואותנו קידשת מכל העמים ושבת קודשך באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת. Amen.
We continue on pages 20 and 21.
לך דודי רחלה בני שבת נקבלה לך דודי רחלה בני שבת נקבלה שמור וזכור ודיבור אחד השמיענו אל המיוחד אדוני אחד ושמו אחד שם ותפארת ולתהילה לך דודי רחלה בני שבת נקבלה לך דודי רחלה בני שבת נקבלה לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה כי מקור הברכה מראש מקדם נסופת מעשה במחשבה תחילה לך דודי לקראת חלה בני שבת נקבלה לך דודי לקראת חלה בני שבת נקבלה. Verse 5 התעוררי התעוררי כי באורי ומאורי אורי אורי שיר דברי כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה לך דודי לקראת חלה בני שבת נקבלה לך דודי לקראת חלה בני שבת נקבלה. בואי לשלום עטרת בעלה גם בשמחה ובצולה בתוכם ונעם סגולה בואי חלה לך דודי לקחתה ונשבע נקבלה לך דודי לקחתה ונשבע נקבלה.
The bottom of page 27 as we remain standing. Entrances to holiness are everywhere. The possibility of ascent is all the time, even at unlikely times and through unlikely places. There is no place on earth without God's presence. Page 26.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי אברהם, נעמה דברה חירותי וימליך מלכותי, בחיי כונו ויום אחד ובחיי לכל בית ישראל, בגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן. את שמי אברהם ועד למעלה מעל מים יתברך וישתבח, יתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתהלל הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם אלוהים, אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Page 38. You continue together in the English. All this we hold to be true and trustworthy for us. You alone are our God, and we are Israel, your people. You are our sovereign and Savior, and saves us from tyrants' fists. You work wonders without number, marvels beyond count. You give us life and steady our footsteps. You perform miracles for us before Pharaoh, signs and wonders in the land of the Egyptians. You led your people Israel out from their midst to freedom for all time. When your children witnessed your dominance, they praised your name in gratitude, and they accepted your sovereignty. Moses, Miriam, and all Israel sang to you together, lifting their voices joyously. We continue on page 46 as we rise for Amidah.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Ve'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Ve'Elohei Leah, Ha'el HaGadol, HaGibor ve'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Ve'Konei HaKol, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע, מוריד הטל. מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר, מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומדומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
Please be seated. We continue together on the top of page 55 in the English. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day. And may this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai mikadesh haShabbat. And on the bottom of page 57 together, you are with us in our prayer, our love, and our doubt, in our longing to feel your presence and do your will. You are the still, clear voice within us. Therefore, O God, when doubt troubles us, when anxiety makes us tremble, when pain clouds the mind, we look inward for the answer to our prayers. There may we find you, and there find courage, insight, and endurance. And let our worship bring us closer to one another, that all Israel and all who seek you may find new strength for your service. Baruch atah Adonai, shotacha levadecha b'yirah na'avod.
Our lives are so full of good things. It's easy to lose sight of all the blessings that surround us. So each week we take a moment to give thanks for some of the good things that we notice in our lives this week. If there's something for which you are particularly thankful, please let us know as I indicate around the room in a word or a sentence. what we're thankful for today. Yes.
Ilana and I were hiking this past week and we had a wonder. And we had a great time.
The beauty of nature and a good hike. Yes. No more boot. Yes. Say it again. We're all here.
Modi Mandan.
Others? Yes. Healing and together with you. Yes. Family. Any non-political thing we're thankful for? No non-political, only politics?
Modi Mandan.
Page 60.
Pray for peace.
Shalom.
We continue with silent prayer. Eternal God, we come before you as we open our hearts and our minds just a little wider, as we reflect, remember those who have taken ill, our loved ones, our family, our friends, those in our community. And we remember them with a commitment to reaching out, to partnering with you, to bring an extra measure of love and blessing, that they may come to know the path towards a refuah shlema, complete and a speedy recovery. On this Shabbat, eternal God, we come before you as we remember and pray Megan Mary DePero, Rhoda Schwartz, Arlene Grable, Donald Molaski, Teddy Molaski, Nathan Hecker, Jeff Stoller, Claire Meyer, William Jackasola, Stephanie Herman, Zahava Rivka, Gail Newman, Steve Bizanov, Marion Berman, with those who we invite you to add to the list by saying a name aloud should you wish to do so.
Rachel Withers Glatt.
May they all come to know refuah shlema, complete and a speedy recovery, as we join together in our communal prayer for healing. So things are really starting to heat up. Politically, that is. The candidates are becoming more contentious than anyone can remember. The back and forth, the name calling, the accusations. We have to remember there are significant policy differences when it comes to health care and security and other things that are important. And we have to acknowledge that there's also accusations of corruption, and the media involvement is palatable. And fortunately, hopefully, we'll know how it all resolves this Tuesday. You didn't really think I was going to talk about American politics, did you? In case you didn't know, there's an election in Israel this Tuesday. And although we're not the ones going to the polls, I would argue it is an election of paramount concern, even for American Jews, for Jews, in fact, for all people throughout the world. And in fact, as you hear about the issues going on in Israel, it's one of those things that if you cut out a couple of words and did the translation, you would think you were talking about American politics. It's uncanny. So I want to do a very quick overview of how the Israeli political system works, and why we are about to have the second election in Israel in 5 months. Because they just voted. Can you imagine if after the first Tuesday in November, especially in 2020, we were told, haha, just kidding, do over. Wouldn't you want to sit through those TV ads for another 6 months? Anyway, there's going to be a session here on Sunday at 9:30 with Hagit Sen, and she's awesome. So please come to that. But I thought I would be remiss the Friday before to not say a few words. So in general, Israel is a one-house, not a two-house political government system. There are 120 seats in Knesset. So those of you who remember your majority math, you need 61 seats to control the government. When you go to vote in Israel, you never, ever, ever get to vote for a person. You never see a person's name. You go into this booth, and they have these like sheets of ballots, and you get to choose one ballot for a party. In fact, they don't even have the party's name on it. Each party either has an acronym or a nickname or something. So if you don't know what you can't even vote for your party. You take the slip, you put it in a sealed envelope, you hand it in, they tabulate all of the ballots just for the parties, because each party has a list and they've ranked their members according to what they consider to be their political importance. The top person is the head of the party, and he or she is the one that becomes prime minister if that party not gets the most votes, if that party is able to form a government. Because once the votes are over, it works like this. A party needs to get at least 3.25% of all of the votes in order to get any seats in parliament. If they do, they get usually a minimum of 4. It's mathematically possible to get 3, but let's say a minimum of 4 seats in the Knesset. And then the wheeling and dealing begins. Because there's never, ever been in the history of Israel a party that got 61 votes. You have to put together a coalition of parties that have enough votes to vote for that prime minister to get 61 or more to take over. Now, the elections happen, and in general, we know where each party is going to stand, if they're right of center or if left of center. But it makes no difference, because parties from both sides of the mechitza, both sides of the divide, have to get into bed with each other in order to form a coalition. And this, of course, is why the ultra-religious political parties wield so much power. They don't have anywhere close to the majority of votes, but they're always the one that has to partner with whichever party is forming the government in order to put them over 61, with the exception of a unity government, and maybe I'll talk about that in a moment. So what happened in this last election is the parties, the two top parties, the Likud, headed by Bibi Netanyahu, got 36 votes, 36 members of the Knesset. Blue and White, a new party that had formed under 2 leaders, Gantz and Lapid. They took their parties and combined it. Actually, it was 3 smaller parties. They had an election. Actually, I should tell you, Blue and White was a brand new party. Because what happens is, yes, parties can form coalitions, but they also, kind of like amoebas, they divide and come together in between each election, because you need to be a unified party in order to have that clout. So this combination of three smaller parties came together to form Blue and White. They have two leaders that they've made the deal. Gantz will become the prime minister for the first 2 years, Lapid for the second two if they win. Anyway, this election happens, 36-35. All the party that's invited to form a government has to do is get to 61. Now here's another one of those nuances. Israel actually has a president, President Rivkin. It's almost totally a ceremonial job. It's really easy for a group to get an appointment with the president of Israel. That's how ceremonial it is. Except he has one piece of authority that can change the entire direction of Israel, perhaps the Middle East, in fact. He's the one that gets to decide, with some parameters, which of the parties gets to try to form the government first. He is not required to pick the party that got the largest number of votes. He didn't have to ask Likud, but he chose to ask Likud and Netanyahu. And they're going through this wheeling and dealing, and the thought was that Yisrael Beitenu, which is a Russian-speaking immigrant party headed by M.K. Lieberman, their thought was he was the one that's going to put them over the top. Except he decided that he was going to play hardball on a piece of legislation that was really important to him. The piece of legislation that wipes away yeshiva bochers, so to speak, the ultra-religious who go to yeshiva, their exemption from military service. That's how much power the religious have, the observant have, we're all religious, but the ultra-observant have in Israel is just to form the government. The deal is our yeshiva students don't have to go into the military. And Lieberman said, you have a choice. Either you pass my bill or I'm not forming the government with you. Bibi thought he was bluffing, but he wasn't bluffing. Bibi couldn't form the government even with the 2-week extension that President Rivkin gave him. So then normally the president would just go to the other party and give them a chance to form the government. Except Mr. Netanyahu decided to use the following political decision. He said, I don't want another election. We're going to vote to dissolve the Knesset, which essentially means we have to have another election. And between the night of when the deadline hit and the next morning before President Rivkin could appoint the opportunity for Blue and White to form a government, Knesset was dissolved and a new election date was set for September 17th this coming week. With me so far? That's why we are where we are. And I can tell you absolutely what's going to happen, because the polls are absolutely clear. There's going to be people who vote. Then they're going to count them. One party is going to have more than the other, and the whole thing's going to start all over. And here are the possibilities, just some of the possibilities. Some of the possibilities are that they won't form a government and we'll have round 3. But the Israelis really don't want that, the people. There's the possibility that one of them will form the government, possibility that enough leverage will be put on Lieberman dealing other things that he'll come into a government with Likud, which tends to be to the right of center, or a possibility that the two bigger parties, Blue and White and Likud, will somehow figure out how to form a coalition government, which Blue and White says it will do, if Likud dumps Prime Minister Netanyahu. See, this is all about Prime Minister Netanyahu. It's all a referendum on Prime Minister Netanyahu, who is undergoing a whole series of corruption allegations having to do with him theoretically wheeling and dealing to get favorable coverage in the media as he berates the media. It's about his stance on being in bed with the far right, as many Israelis are not happy with, and a series of other things. In fact, Blue and White formed with a series of mission statements. The first one was, get rid of Bibi Netanyahu. The third, the fifth, the seventh, all were that essentially. And in between included entering peace negotiations back with the Palestinians. It included health care issues, security issues. All of those things we're talking about in this country, in large part, were part of all of this forming of Blue and White. And what's interesting is we talk about Likud beating to the right, and Blue and White actually is slightly right of center. They're not to the left. But they are the two centrist parties that are going at it. Just like in this country, as much as we may think Republicans are for our right and Democrats are for our left, the truth is they're essentially the two most center, and we have parties further right and further left and next to nothing in the middle. And so this wheeling and dealing is happening, and needless to say, the American Jewish community has great interest, those who are concerned about Israel and world Jewry, especially because American Jews tend to be much more politically and religiously liberal, even conservative and a segment of the Orthodox community, believing in pluralism issues, which are part of Blue and White and not part of Likud because of the Haredi parties, because of promises that were made to the liberal Jewish community for access to the Kotel, access to the Western Wall, for men and women to actually pray together. A whole series of issues that American Jews are waiting for. The other thing Blue and White was concerned about is the nation state law, which essentially took minorities in Israel and put them in a different group than Israeli Jews. I'm trying to put it in a non-political term, but that's essentially, you can decide if it was correct or not correct, but there were a number of American Jewish organizations, and I don't mean just liberals, who came out against the nation state law. So all of these things are wrapped up into this election on Tuesday for American Jews, for Israeli Jews. We don't get as much press coverage for this in this country like we used to for Israeli elections, and a lot of that has to do with how our political system is now working, and I think Brexit is kind of taking a little bit of the world at stage 2. But this is really a significant moment for Israel, for American Jews and world Jewry, and many would argue for the world, because it is a battle between values and ideals that tend to be seen as liberal democratic values. Blue and White's other party mission is not only to get rid of the current prime minister, but to disqualify anyone from serving in MK as a member of Knesset who has been charged with or convicted of a crime, and term limits, interestingly enough. So I think I've caught you up a little bit to what's going on. It's going to actually be on the news Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And I hope you'll take some interest in what comes from it, as we'll also continue to unpack it in the coming weeks and months. May they come to know peace. May they come to elect leaders who can lead them and all of our people from where we are to a better place. Amen. Friends, our service continues on page 282. We rise together for Elena.
Page 282 at the top of the page.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד ארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינת עוזו בגבהי מרומים, הוא אלוהינו אין עוד. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
Please be seated. Page 293. As our minds and our hearts turn towards our loved ones who are no longer with us, we share this reading of remembrance as we share it responsively. Remember our people who suffered and died so that we could be free and secure. May their memory be more than a distant shadow. Lives taken too soon, we remember. Remember our brothers and sisters whose sacrifice kept the dream of democracy and justice alive. May their courage be our inspiration and strength. For a life cut short and vision unrealized, we remember. Remember the fallen of armed services, the victims of terror and tragedy. May the darkness of their loss not obscure the light of peace. They were in love with our land and in love with life. The agony, the tears, the mothers and the fathers, the children who were and for the children yet to be, we remember them. We remember all of our loved ones, those who have recently passed, those whose anniversary of their death we observe, and all of our loved ones who continue to inspire us long after their days on earth. As we say aloud the name of a loved one, we invite you to please stand as we mention their name, as we honor those who touched our lives during their lives. We continue in the period of Shiva as we remember Dr. Stephen Harris, the husband of Arlene Harris, the father of Rebecca Kander and Richard Harris. We continue in the period of Shloshim, the 30 days since death, as we remember with love Pamela White, the family of Arlene Moncasi, Charles Leon, the uncle of Cheryl Brown, Barry Bader, the father of Dara Lipper. And on this Shabbat, we say aloud and remember with love those whose yahrzeit are observed this week. As we remember Florence Fuchs, Hyman Ruttman, Henry Ruttman, Elaine Ruttman, Aaron Jacobs, Esther Silverstein, Wesley Eisman Bramnick, Leo Diamond, Tilly Panish, Al Kaplan, William Madonic, M. Robert Dortch, Sumner Moskowitz, Sylvia Edelman, Henry Jimmy Cagle, Gertrude Ettman, Louis Feynman, Deborah Greenberg, Herbert Korinsky, Isidore Kaplowitz, Ted Marks, Robert Marrow, Norma Teitelbaum, Marjorie Sheffield, Mary Maltz, Irving Thompson, Samuel Watov, Augusta Brown, Leon Glassberg, Maria Otis, Martin Zuckerman, Edith Zuckerman, Lillian Wishansky, Paula Meyer, Murray Meltzer, Abraham Nadelman, Saul Diamond, and Rose Kozak. If there's anyone else observing Shiva Shloshim or Yartzeit and the name has not yet been read aloud, we invite you to please stand and add the name. In loving memory of all whose names have been said aloud, those who remain in our hearts, and all who no longer have anyone to recall their memory, we rise together alongside our mourners as an act of love and support as we share Kaddish Tov, the Mourner's Kaddish, page 294. Yitgadal v'yikadash Shemei Rabbah, v'almad zivrach cheutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chai echon v'yom echon, v'v'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael, ba'agala v'zman kari v'imru. Yehei Shemei Rabbah mevarach le'olam u'l'olmei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yiparar v'yitraman v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal Shemei Kedusha b'ripu, le'edam bin kol birchata v'shirata, tushbachata v'nechamata, ta'amiran ba'alma v'imru. Yehei Shalom Rabbah min Shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Hoseh Shalom b'mrumav, hu ya'aseh Shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us, to all Israel, to this entire world, as together we say. Please be seated.
Shabbat Shalom again. Just some announcements before we wrap up. As Rabbi Beal mentioned, and he did a great job of summarizing, but this Sunday at 9:30, Hagit Stan will discuss the recent Israeli election, and we'll go into, I'm sure, a lot more detail about that. The sisterhood has several exciting events coming up. One, they have an Israeli dance class, which will be Wednesday evening at 7. Our own... Sorry. Well, it's all up top. There you go. Once again, I'm useless. But two things I do want to point out. Wednesday evening at 7, our own executive director, Orly Klugman, will be speaking on her experiences growing up in Israel and her background, which is quite fascinating. And in addition, as you see, next Friday, we'll be the sisterhood is very proud to be donating new Torah covers ahead of the high holidays. That's the other information there. Shabbat Shalom.
Oh, Community Slichot has just been moved from November 21st to September 21st. It's just an executive's decision. I hope I won't get in trouble. Friends, our closing song, before I get in real trouble. Our closing song, Adonai Oz, is found on page 338.
Adonai oz lamo yitain, Adonai oz lamo yitain, Adonai oz lamo yitain, Adonai yivarech et amo, Adonai yivarech et amo v'shalom, Adonai Shalom, Adonai oz lamo yitain, Adonai oz lamo yitain, Adonai oz lamo yitain, Adonai yivarech.
Okay, we're going to continue something a little different like last week. I invite you to please rise and do your best to come on in and surround the challah. I'm going to put this gentleman to work. He's going to come out into the row. It's because you had two good things happen this week, so now we put you to work. Please grab the challah, grab someone grabbing the challah, grab someone grabbing someone, grabbing someone. Immediately following Motzi, we'll do the final blessing and then the blast of the shofar as we continue the month of Elul, the month of preparation and reflection, the month of remembering in order to be inspired towards goodness. Please join with us.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz.
And please grab some, pass it around. Oops. Here, you get the lion's share. And I invite you, please, as you're near someone I hope that you know or love or want to become friends with, please wrap your arms around a loved one, reach out a hand to a friend, reach out a hand and make a new friend. Eternal God, we stand before you in thanksgiving for all of our blessings in life, for the love that we get from family, the support that comes from friends, from the strength and privilege of being part of sacred community, and for all of the blessings and the beauty of your creation that surrounds us each day. We offer you our thanks and our prayers. We invoke your name, eternal God, as we ask that your loving kindness will be sheltered upon us throughout Shabbat and the days to come.
Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha.
May God bless us and protect us.
Yair Adonai panav elecha v'chuneka.
May God's countenance shine upon us and be gracious to us.
Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom.
May God's eyes remain fixed upon us, and may God grant us and all people God's greatest gift of all, the gift of peace.
Amen.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone.